Determine the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x if f of x sits between the sine of 4x divided by 2x and x squared plus 2. So f of x is sitting between the sine of 4x divided by 2x and x squared plus 2. We can take the limit as x approaches 0 of each of these, and the inequality will still hold true. So the limit as x approaches 0 of the sine of 4x divided by 2x. The limit as x approaches 0 of f of x, the one we want to determine. And the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared plus 2. The outer two limits we can evaluate to help determine the middle limit. Starting with the leftmost limit, as x approaches 0 of the sine of 4x divided by 2x, the first thing to do is plug a 0 in for each of the x's. 4 times 0 is 0, which will give the sine of 0 divided by 2 times 0 is 0. So we have the sine of 0 over 0. And sine of 0 is 0, this will give the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. Since this is resulting due to a sine of 0, this can be worked out making use of the identity limit as theta approaches 0 of sine of theta over theta equals to 1. To make use of that limit, we need to isolate the sine function. So we will move the 2x over into its own term. It's in the denominator. The sine of 4x into its own term. It's in the numerator. So that we can now phase match it in the other position. It has a phase of 4x, and it's in the numerator, so we need a 4x in the denominator. And we will compensate by putting a 4x in the numerator of the other term. If these multiply, the 4x's will cancel, and it will return back to its original. The middle limit we'll leave as is. It is the one we want to determine. And then the rightmost limit, we can start by plugging a 0 in for each of the x's. That will give 0 squared plus 2. Turning to the leftmost limit, the first fraction in it, the x's can cancel, and the 4 and the 2 can cancel down to leave at 2. And then we have the sine of 4x divided by 4x. The middle limit we will leave as is. And then the rightmost limit, 0 squared is 0 plus 2. For the leftmost limit, we have the identity because the sine is now phase matched, and therefore the sine of 4x over 4x will go to 1 as x approaches 0. And the result there is 2 times 1, which is 2. And the limit we want to determine. And then 0 plus 2 is 2. So the limit we want to determine is being squeezed between 2 and 2. And therefore, the limit as x approaches 0 of f of x will equal to, by the squeeze theorem, and we have determined the limit is given.